I'll say good day to you, this day of your time. Welcome to this transmission, which is titled, The Meaning of Change is a Change of Meaning. And what we mean by this is that, as we have previously talked about, you are shifting billions of times per second to create your experience of space and time and change. But the idea is that we would now like to take it a little bit deeper in your understanding of what it is you are specifically doing to create these shifts. As we have also said, how you define your reality is what you choose to experience from it. It's a reflection sent back to you based on the definitions and beliefs that you buy into, that are reflected back by the idea of physical reality within your consciousness to allow you to experience your physical life path. We have talked about these things, but now let us dive more deeply into what is actually happening in creating these shifts. Because it is all about how you define things, when you decide, when you choose as a soul to have a physical reality experience, and you, so to speak, crystallize a focus of your consciousness down into that perspective that allows you to experience yourself as a physical personality and experience a physical life path, what you are doing is kind of baking in to your physical self a layout, a grid, an understanding of how physical reality will be structured so that you can immediately start to orient yourself in that physical reality structure, in that grid-like pattern, so that you don't have to actually think about how to do that. It becomes an unconscious and automatic scenario where you lay out the idea of what physical reality will feel like, that you lay out the idea of orientation within physical reality. And as we said, all of this gets baked into the crystallization of the vibrational patterns within your soul that create your experience of physical reality. So, for example, you create the idea of an orientation grid pattern within your consciousness that allows you to understand how to function in physical reality directionally. For example, immediately when you are physically born, you understand instinctively the concepts of up and down and left and right, forward and back. You understand the dimensionality that you have created as a 3D physical space. This is ensconced within your unconscious mind. It is the playing board that you are going to live out your life path on. And in so creating that physical three-dimensional grid that allows you to orient spatially in the idea and the experience of physical reality, you then create definitions of what that means also in time. For then you ensconce within yourself the idea, since everything in spirit is a timeless experience, a simultaneous timeless experience, you ensconce the concept of the structure of time as well. A before, a now, and after, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Again, unconsciously, so that you can understand in your experience the very concept of experiencing one moment after another, and remembering a moment before this moment, and understanding that you are now in what you call the present, and then understanding that there will be another moment after the present. So you lay out these grids in space and time, orienting yourself in the concept that there is a three-dimensional space that is reflected and reinforced by the concept you create of gravity. Because in gravity, you have your orientation. So gravity is the reflective result of establishing a grid orientation of three-dimensionality, up, down, forward, back, left, and right. And it is gravity that is the result of that orientation, not the other way around. So in projecting the concept of gravity, and in projecting the concept of the flow and the arrow of time moving through space, you then create all you need to experience physiological reality in the way that you typically do. So change in your physical reality experience thus then becomes the product of constant redefining where you are orienting in that three-dimensional spatial grid and when you are orienting in that time flow grid of before, now, and after, so that you experience things like movement in space and time, different locations in space and time, different times in space and time. So you lay this all out in the soul, and it is baked in to the personality so that you are oriented immediately into your experience of physical reality. This is why when you do travel into space and experience what you call a lessening of gravity, and you move faster and experience a lessening of time, that is why these things in that environment are flexible, because you are creating them with a certain orientation to physical reality within a three-dimensional gravitational time-oriented space. And when you leave that matrix, when you go into microgravity in space and are weightless, and you move closer to the speed of light and become more timeless, that's why those things happen, because you are moving out of the physical matrix, the physical grid you baked into your understanding of how to move, how to orient, how to experience the concept of physical reality in a 3D space. So when you go into space and are experiencing a lessening of gravity that is the reflection of the 3D grid of up, down, forward, back, left, and right, this is why things in your body begin to, in a sense, dematerialize. You experience what you call bone loss, muscle mass loss, all these things because you are, in a sense, slowly going back to the idea of spirit in a gridless, timeless, simultaneous existence when you are weightless in space. Now, this is why in our technology we have learned to create, as you will eventually learn to create, the idea of taking that 3D space-time reality with you on your ships and create the idea of gravitational fields and time-space fields in your ships when you travel in the way that we do. So you do not have to experience the idea of slipping out of that matrix that you have created for your physical reality experience. So you take it with you on your ships when you are traveling. The idea is that you will learn to do this eventually. But in the meantime, any change that you experience in physical reality, moment to moment to moment, billions of times per second, is the result of constantly, unconsciously redefining where you are, when you are, constantly giving yourself a new definition of location, a new definition of time, and therefore experiencing the idea of the flow of time before, now, after, experiencing the shifting from one location to another, or even the idea of a simple movement of your body through billions of frames per second is the actual result of redefining yourself within that baked-in grid of three-dimensional space. A new definition of location, a new definition of time, a new definition of location, a new definition of time, over and over and over again to create the idea of movement and change in your physical reality experience. So you are literally constantly, always, already redefining who and what you are, where you are, when you are, constantly to create your experience of the flow and experience of physical reality as a life path. Knowing that you're doing that already and automatically can give you a better handle on how to create definitions that allow you to experience more flexibility, malleability within the space-time grid, so that you can begin to experience a broadening of your capability of perceiving the idea that time and space are your projections, and that physical reality can become more fluid, more malleable, more flexible, and experience things in a more dreamlike, lucid way. So knowing that this is what's happening is that you're using definitions to redefine yourself in the 3D space-time grid over and over and over again can allow you not to have to work so hard to redefine yourself because you're already doing it. It's just now about the idea of what definition you allow yourself to buy into most strongly about where and when and how you are, that will allow you to really start unfolding physical reality in a way that shows you and demonstrates in no uncertain terms that it is a reflection of what you're putting out on a very deep level by your definitions every single second, thousands of times, billions of times per second. You are redefining yourself over and over again. So it's through definition and buying into that definition that you experience the unfolding of your physical life path. Let that sink in. The more you allow it to sink in, the more you go more deeply into the understanding of how you are shifting billions of times a second through the act of redefining yourself in space and time, will give you a little bit more leeway to expand your consciousness and experience your physical reality very differently than you used to. It may take a little bit of time for you to get used to this and let it sink in, but that's all right. Just allow yourself to start pondering this idea of redefining yourself every moment, billions of times per second, as the mechanism that shifts you, and then you will start experiencing a little bit more fluidity and flexibility in your physical reality in a very positive, creative, and constructive way. We thank you for allowing us to share this deeper insight into deeper dimensional physics that you can utilize to experience your reality in a different way. And in return for the gift you are giving us of experiencing all of you, I ask now, how may we continue to be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and dialogue if you wish.